episode 2 of Rerouted. How did you get here? We have Seth, who is just starting with us too. He just started with us in August, and you have a very interesting story. So, for the people who don't know you like I do, why don't you give them a little bit of insight about your life and what you did up till now?
So I'm Seth. So basically, what I did was, and I played sports. I worked on a farm, and I was really into agriculture, and I valued my education, and my family is really planted in education. My mom, she was a teacher. I was an educational consultant. My grandmother, my grandfather, they taught. My grandfather taught in the army as well. My dad, he went to college, so I valued education, and it's not my ended up being an LCA wasn't because I had disrespect for the staff. I didn't care for my education. It just wasn't that setting wasn't right for me.
Yeah, so talk a little bit more about that. You went to LS your entire life. And I know your mom pretty well. She's in education, she values education. I have my own son too, who struggles with going to school. He doesn't like the rules, he doesn't like sitting. I think he's kind of like you in the way that he likes to be outdoors and he enjoys nature. Um, did you enjoy school when you were in elementary school?
Yeah. Well, actually, so I was homeschooled first to fourth grade.
Oh, okay.
My first public school setting was preschool. My mom taught preschool when I was really young, and so I didn't have her as a teacher, but I went to the same preschool. And but after that, she was like, "Do you want to be homeschooled or do you want to go to public school?" And I chose homeschool. I just wasn't ready for public school yet. And with that, my mom, she was still teaching, so it was my grandparents and my neighbor, who she's also older. They taught me. So like some days I'd be with my grandparents, and then some days I'd be at my neighbor's house, Mrs. Kreider, and they are both very educated people. All three of them went to college, and my grandfather, who's a historian, he writes history books. He was like kind of my history teacher. My grandmother, who went to college, and she taught, and she also teaches at a church. She taught me like ELA and math, and Mrs. Kreider, she taught me like pretty much everything, like the loose ends.
Yeah.
But with homeschool, they taught me more than what first and fourth graders would learn. It was like super easy. And in elementary school, I had a problem with daydreaming.
Okay.
I would not listen to the teachers. I was constantly daydreaming, and the teachers actually got my parents involved. They were like, "So, your son's not paying attention in school." And they were like, "Well, how's he doing that?" "Well, he's passing his classes. He's doing really, really good." And as a result of that, that was because I learned so much in my homeschool time that when I came to fourth and fifth grade, which is, I didn't have to listen to the teachers teach. And that caused a whole bunch of problems in middle school. So it was too easy. I didn't pay attention. But going into middle school, everybody changes in middle school. I had this big change. I was not the nicest kid.
Okay.
Yeah.
I wouldn't expect that from you.
I didn't have the right people around me, and I'm still figuring out what's my interest. And on top of that, being so ahead in school, I had this cockiness. I was kind of arrogant.
Okay.
And I just felt like I was better than everybody else. And
Where do you think that feeling came from?
I think it was fourth and fifth grade from me being so good at it, and I was quiet, and I didn't take that for advantage of it. I didn't really become that arrogant person. I was very quiet. I was very respectful. I just did my work. But then in this middle school, I just met the wrong people that weren't the nicest, and that kind of took what I already was and kind of switched it in a way. So I was good, but now I'm going to be arrogant about it. But luckily I figured that out really fast in sixth and seventh grade, and I changed that really fast.
I want to go back to you talking about daydreaming though, because I find daydreaming fascinating. What do you think? Do you remember what you daydreamed about?
Yeah, I still daydream at LCA.
Okay.
I actually didn't do a lot today at LCA because I was a little bit daydreaming. I remember being so my grandfather was lieutenant colonel, and he was also a historian. So I pictured myself as General Patton, and I was this, and I would take historical events the Roman Empire, and I would kind of what happens if I was in charge of that? how would I go about that? Or like taking the old ways and implementing the new ways. So like I would daydream constantly of like building my own like society and country, which is
Interesting.
kind of uh, I don't know what word to say. It's kind of it sounds kind of stupid, but
No, it doesn't. It's actually interesting because I find daydreaming like the salt of life because like a lot of the times I think in schools the curriculum we have to teach doesn't allow for the creativity
yeah,
you might hold. Like that is really cool. And like as a teacher, I would love to take that and explore that. Like
yeah,
you could write a whole like a whole nonfiction novel
mm-hmm.
by doing some research or a whole fictional novel and just go
Mm-hmm.
all in.
Mm-hmm.
Those are the really cool lessons that I think would engage you because I know you like to learn in a different way and you definitely have your specified interests. I don't think daydreaming's bad. I think it is like I don't think this would have happened if I didn't daydream.
Yeah,
You know what I mean? When I'm sitting in my office and doing all my reports, I'm like,
mm-hmm.
what if I got to hear the kids more?
Yeah.
So I don't know. I don't think daydreaming's bad. And I guess I wonder, you lived through COVID. Did that have any effect on your education?
Actually, better. It had a good
Oh,
effect.
cool.
Seventh grade. It was at the towards the end of seventh grade, over the summer, beginning of eighth grade. Um, I was. This was seventh grade was still when I was like this arrogant bad kid. My grades were slipping because of that. But I went to at home over online, and well, I
Mm-hmm.
didn't have to act out for anybody. I didn't have to be with the people that were making me a bad person. So my grades actually went from like C's to A's and to B's and passing all my classes. And then eighth grade came back and well, I just wasn't with them anymore. That was actually a good thing. It separated me from them, and then I just never had this interest to go back to it. And that's when I would turn into this really popular kid. It's like really sporty. I was in all the friend groups, and
Mm-hmm.
but also what also changed with the drop of friends was in ninth grade was the first year I joined FFA. I
Okay.
I loved. I didn't like. I always knew that I had like kind of like a love for agriculture,
Mm-hmm.
but I never joined FFA. I didn't take any ag classes. I didn't work on a farm. I live in a suburb, so I'm not like around
Yeah.
farms. So I joined FFA. I took small gas engines was my first ag class, and I loved it.
Awesome.
Um, so I joined FA, and then I started wearing these boots and jeans, which I still wear boots and jeans. Like I'm still a big ag kid. Like I
Yeah.
wear a tie, but I had like two personalities. I had this like really classy, but then this really ag. Like don't care about getting dirty, running
Yeah.
in the mud. If you're an ag kid, you're not popular. And
Mm.
so when I first showed up in boots and jeans for my because you had to wear boots and jeans for ag classes, PPE, personal protective equipment. Um, and so I had to wear that, and I wore it, and like you could see, like people were like looking at me like, "Why is Seth dressed like this?" They had no, like they didn't expect it at all.
Yeah.
And well, then people stopped talking to me after that, which it's a good thing. I don't mind.
Why do you think that is that the perception is that FFA students aren't popular or ag kids? Like, I understand that because of where I came from, we would call them ag kids. Funny enough, like, agriculture funds
Yeah.
our whole our whole environment, our whole everything, like what we eat, what we buy, our our gas, our food, everything. It does supply that. It's a huge supply chain. Why do you think that there's a mindset in schools that ag isn't cool?
I guess because they're just too grown up for the rest of the people. I don't really have a good answer for that other than ag kids, they know what they want to do from the
Mm,
start of high school, even in middle school. They want to be, farmer, rancher. They want to be in the ag industry. They know what they want to do, and they take the classes for that.
yeah. I would argue that as someone in agriculture, you have to have some kind of job mindset because you do like if you're taking care of animals, you're up early.
Mm-hmm.
You have those chores that can't be put off like any other. Like you can put
Mm-hmm.
off working out for a day, but you can't put off working on the farm.
Yeah,
So
like,
maybe that's it.
and like also like ag kids, that's their whole life.
Yep. At what point do you think you started getting this idea of like maybe traditional school wasn't fitting your needs? Because you're super bright, just like Olivia in episode 1. I mean, you have a goal. It's not like you just like stopped going, didn't care for school, didn't follow the rules. But what led you off the path of a traditional school?
Um, well, so it was more the people. It was ninth grade was my best year of high school. 10th grade, not so much. And then 11th grade, obviously the worst. And then I came here for my senior year, LCA for my senior year. Started making these drastic changes. I guess I kind of, I always say that it scared them a little bit. Like, they saw how fast somebody could change. Like, for me being popular, sporty to FFA, working on farms, and being like this old soul, like wearing ties, driving all cars. It's like, I guess I kind of freaked them out. And so they use me as a punching bag. They like to make fun of me. And like some bullied me. And I heard some like rumors would spread about me. And I'd be like, okay, I'm not gonna take it seriously. And then some like were really hit close to home. Like, wow, that hurts. And so then I stopped showing up. I stopped going to school, and I got called to court for truancy, and
Okay.
because of that, and that was like kind of like a really like that kind of like diminished me. Like, I was like, wow, I'm this good kid. I never get in trouble. I'm going to court. I'm like in the eyes of the law, I'm this bad kid. And so after the four, I didn't get charged. They gave me one more try, and I took that for granted. I stopped showing up again because the bullying just got worse. And then I got called again, and they were like, "We're gonna charge you," and that made me so much more worse. Instead of like, which I understand why they charged me. Like,
Yeah.
it was, I deserved it. I wasn't going to school, but but in my mind, I'm like, why is everybody against me? And
Oh yeah. I can understand that mindset.
yeah,
Going to court is scary.
yeah.
And I don't know the magistrate from your area, but they take attendance seriously, and unfortunately, like, there are rules for that. Was there anyone at school that you felt like you reached out to, or like you wish knew how bad it was, or do you think they knew and it was hard to
Well,
take care of?
the thing with that was is I didn't tell anybody, and
Mm.
because I'm a very proud person. I don't let stuff like that just out in public. Even friends I was close with, I didn't tell.
Do you think you have a support system for when things like that come up?
Yeah, I mean,
Who did you
well,
talk about it with?
my parents. So like I told them about the bullying, but I never asked like I said, proud, but I didn't know I had depression. It was actually not like mental depression. It was like physical depression. Like, I couldn't get myself for school. Like,
Yeah.
there was like times where like if I wanted to go to school, like I knew that I had to go to school, but I just couldn't get up. And I went to the doctors about it, and they said, "Well, you have physical depression," and that really upset me because like I'm this happy person, I'm a nice person, and I shouldn't have depression. And I still don't say I had depression because really in my mind I don't feel like I had depression,
Mm.
but I still like every like for LCI I wake up and I'm like, maybe I don't have to go today. I've been having perfect attendance. I don't need to go today. And that's more my physical depression talking of
Yeah.
like, just you don't have to get up. Um, but I get up anyways, and I go to school.
You do. You're there every day.
Yeah.
And it's hard because I think you've learned in the past, you start that cyclical pattern of not going, and then you dread to go.
Yeah, it was such a bad cycle. I get behind, and then I miss because I'm behind, and then I get more behind, and I miss because of that.
That doesn't help your depression, I'm guessing.
No, not really.
No,
Not really.
no. And honest, like, I joke about it, but that pressure of I'm so far behind, there's no way for me to catch up.
Yeah,
Why go?
exactly. And that was like the bad thing in my mind was like, always, it's just one more day I can miss, just one more day, and I'm going. And then when I would go to school, I didn't have motivation to do anything. I would go to class, I would sit there, and like I still had friends, like I still had ties with popular kids, so I would go there and I would like talk and laugh and have fun, like still hang out with the old friends,
Mm.
but I'm not doing anything. So I'm here at school, so yeah, I checked that off the box. Like, yeah, I made it to school, now I have to do work, and I wasn't doing work. And basically the end of the marking period came, and it was fourth marking period. Yeah, and they were like, "You're not gonna make it. You're gonna be held back." And proud boy Seth. Like, I can't let anybody know I'm getting
Yeah.
held back, and so I stopped showing up again.
So did the school tell you about the alternative ed school, or did your mom works in education? Did she already ask about it? How did that come up?
I believe it was LS actually. told me about LCA. Like, and at first, I like they told me like a month or two prior, and my first thought was no, I'm not going there.
I think your perspective on LCA is fascinating, and that's why I have you here. So you were like, I'm not going. Talk to me about that. Like, what is your thought process on that?
So my sister, she went, and it didn't work for her because my sister, she was bullied just because she was weird. Like she just didn't fit in. Like they called her the weird kid. She just
I
didn't fit
thought
in.
you were gonna call her a weird kid. Are you calling your sister a weird
A
kid?
little bit.
My sister might call me a weird kid, so that's fine. Fair, fair.
And so she just didn't fit in. So she was bullied, and so she got charged for truancy, and so she went to LCA. She had other options. I mean, she probably could have graduated. She went to LCA, but she was so smart and she was super nice, and she didn't fit in with the people in LCA. She couldn't talk to anybody, and she just didn't feel like she belonged. And that was the biggest factor for her with LCA of why she didn't make it through. She just couldn't fit in.
Right, and so the alt school we have is not for everybody, and not everyone will make it. And that's fine because there are plenty of other options to be successful. We are not the only way. Traditional school is not the only way. There are 1,000 ways to get where you want to go. But you were worried that you weren't going to fit in with the students. So I'm sure because your sister might not fit the general mold of what, is cool to be a high schooler, you don't fit that mold either. Were you scared when you started LCA that, you would be bullied again, or that the kids were going to be, I don't know how you would picture that.
I came into LCA and I was like kind of thinking like, wow, this is not gonna look good on a resume.
I understand your mindset on that. An alternative school looks different than a high school would,
Yeah.
a traditional high school.
And like going into LCA, I'm like, I went to LS. It's a really good high school. That would
It
look
is amazing.
great. And I just kind of like, I feel like I kind of just gave that up. Like, even though I had, I was bullied, I had physical depression, and there was just no way I was going to make it at LS, I still in the back of my mind, I was like, I threw that away. And I did throw it away, in a way, I did. But I'm glad I came to LC. Like,
Yeah.
Because, like, to me now, after getting past that whole, like, embarrassment and, like, realizing that maybe I won't fit in and it's just not for me, I'm glad because it's a new experience. I'm doing very well because I get to go and I get to really show me. I get to dress the way I want, and I get to actually like prove myself. Like instead of not prove myself, I can prove myself. I can do my work and I can do it good, and I can have conversations. Like I have that free time. I have conversations with teachers and like talk to them about the stuff that I like. I talk to Kathy all the time about. We read. She gave me a book. I forget what it's called. We're talking about the coal regions and the history of that, and Vicky with government. I talked to her about government.
Yeah, don't talk to me about government, but she is the person to talk to. And I hope you see those conversations as meaningful. As meaningful as they are to you, we as the educators, we love them just as much as our content's important, it's those connections that are the whole basis of education.
Yeah. And after like coming out, see like seeing some of the students, like some of these students, and I'm not going to speak for any of them because I don't know their situation, but in my kind of like I'll say ignorant mind, I'm like, these people don't care about education. They do not care about authority. They're bad kids. But now going into it, like I'm glad that I went to LCA because it broadened my view on people. Like it made me think like these aren't bad people. These are just people in a bad situation. And you know what? They're going to LCA and they're trying to better their situation instead of giving up. Like I could have gave up and just forfeited and just dropped out of school. These people didn't. They're going to LCA, so they're better than most people I know.
I think I appreciate that comment the most because I think you've shown so much growth in what you thought maybe an LCA student looked like before. And there's nothing wrong with that. That is your perspective. You knew the background of your sister going and what she had said about students. But I think that growth for you of like, this is what I thought people were who go to LCA or an alternative ed, and how that's changed for you is paramount because you will have that over and over again in your life. You will think, this is one kind of way, this is how things go, and your perspective will change. I think that's amazing for you. So you have this whole new perspective on maybe what an LCA student looks like. I think as much as like we're there to learn, you've made some great friendships. Like there are some students from your school that you're right, dropped out. And these kids are trying. And we see that in you, we see that in them. You have made a decision that this is important for you.
Yeah.
How has the idea of success changed for you from maybe freshman year high school to your senior year now in a different school?
Success for me before was, you know, succeeding in the hard things, but doing it the best way possible. But now success has changed. I think like succeeding is you take a hard situation and maybe you won't do your best in it, but you get through it anyways. And you can define that in a different way. But for me, success is like in a new school, LCA, I'm making it through LCA, and I will only know if I succeeded when I get a career. If I become a game warden and succeed in that, then I'll know that I succeeded in education. Maybe I didn't do it the best way. Maybe I didn't go all A's and B's. I wasn't a perfect student, didn't have the perfect attendance, but I still succeeded, and that's
Yeah.
success.
I agree. There's not one kind. If we all succeeded the same way, we'd have one job, and
Yeah.
that'd be boring. It'd be so boring. All right. So then, what advice would you give students who might be on the same path as you? Truancy is an issue, or bullying's an issue, and you don't want to talk about it to the school, or you might have an opportunity at a different school, but you're not sure that you fit that mold.
Well, with bullying, I think you should always tell somebody. The thing with bullies is they want a reaction and they feel bad about themselves, and so they're gonna beat somebody else down. And sometimes they just want a reaction, and they don't expect you to retaliate. That's the whole point of bullying is they try to weaken you. And well, if you just do what they think completely opposite of, like they won't tell anybody. If you go tell somebody, they're gonna stop. I mean, because they don't know how to react to that. Well,
Yeah.
now what I thought would work doesn't work. So maybe you don't have to tell the school, but you can tell somebody, parents, friends. And with truancy, I mean, I don't know what their situation be. If it was my situation with physical oppression and bullying, just don't give up. I mean, it's gonna get better. I mean, with me, I thought it was never gonna end. Like when I heard that I was gonna be held back, my only option was LCA. I was like, I'm done. That's it for me. Um, but look, I'm here now, and I'm doing better than I did at LS. And so really, it's your path. So take your path and you just keep going forward. You can't turn around. You can't go left. You can't go right. Just go straight.
And truly, I am so proud of you for making that decision because when you hit that moment of like, I've messed up,
Yeah.
I mean, you can take it and totally just let it go. Kids your age, you're of the age where you can just drop out. And that's for educators, that sucks because I don't want you to drop out. I want you to push, but I also understand like when the cards are stacked against you and you're in this cyclical pattern, it becomes what's the point? So you to take that step was super brave. So
Thank
I
you.
think that needs to be stated. That's
Thank you.
hard. I'm going to ask you the same question I asked Olivia. You have a magic wand and you can wave it and fix anything in public school that you think hinders education for children. What would you change?
That's a
I
good
don't
question.
put that one on the list.
That's a good question.
I don't put it on the list for a reason.
I think that I would change. Public school is a solid structure. You can't. It's almost like a wall. You can't go through it. You have to go through the door. You have to go or around it. You can't go through the wall. And I think I would try to change that and make it lenient, flexible, and maybe you can climb the wall. Whatever you want to do, you don't have to go their way. You go here. You have to go at 7:30, and you have to stay until 2:45. You can't leave, and you have to be at all your classes on time, or you're gonna get detention. And we know you have a problem, but we're gonna have to take disciplinary action. And with LCA, you're lenient. Like you can flex to each student's problems and the way they learn. They have the idea of like the pinnacle of a student, and they built around that. Instead of looking at test scores and graduation rates, they looked at who's not doing so good, that low percentage, that outlier, and could kind of flex towards them, and like create a new platform for a student. I think it would change a lot of students' lives. It would have fixed my life. It would have changed my life.
I don't think it's just the school you came from. I think in general, school has to meet we have a bell curve.
Yeah.
And we have to meet the students that fall right in the center. We call it the standard deviations on the outside. They have to mold to what fits the norm. And you're just not going to do that. School's holding this as what is a student. And you're right. It just isn't. For a lot of you, it's just not working.
Yeah, and I feel like it sounded like a chart. Good, bad. If you're not fitting this mold, you're bad. And it could be bad in different ways. You're bad at just public school setting. You're a bad person. You're not nice. It could be, that bad could mean a whole lot of things. And then good. Good means one thing. You're a good student. That's all that matters. There's no like, oh, you're a great person and you're very bright. You just don't fit in the setting. That's the problem, is they have that one chart, good and bad. There's no in between.
I think I've shared with you before, like I'm trying to change that mindset of what an alternative school looks like in people's minds. Because you're right, people hear alternative ed and they think bad. And I don't know what bad means. If it's truancy, grades, behavior. I don't know. Substance abuse. I don't know. And then there's other kids that are good that can stay in public school, but that's not the case. Like you are a good student, like well-rounded, you have great interests, you're going to be successful, regardless if you get your diploma or not. You will. But regardless, you are going to be successful. I want to change this mindset of like alternative doesn't mean bad. It just means different.
Yeah.
So again, I don't fit the mold of what an educator or an admin looks like, but I like what I do. I like helping kids.
Yeah.
So these boxes, I feel like we need to get rid of.
Yeah, exactly.
5 years from now, we asked Seth to come back and talk on our podcast and talk to students. What are you doing? Where are you? Do I get to travel to go see you?
Hopefully I become a game warden then, because like I said, I want to become a game warden while I'm young and still can do it. I can run around and chase people if I have to, but
I don't know what that back problem you have.
yeah, or I have to have a back brace on and slow up a little bit.
Yeah.
But hopefully game warden and hopefully working on my college, like a college diploma. Like I want to go to college while I'm game warden, become a history professor.
Awesome.
And travel? Well, hopefully I'm still in Pennsylvania, so I don't really have plans of moving anywhere, so.
Okay. Well, thank you for coming.
Of course.
I love your perspective. I think it's really important to hear, like, the kids who come to an alternative school aren't bad, just different. And tradition doesn't fit everybody. Your perspective is really important for me as an educator to know how to help other students that are going to come down and come to LCA. I also think it's just important for you to know, like, the growth you've seen already is profound for you in your life. That perspective seeking of others is critical.
And as much as I changed, I think I influenced LCA as well, because
100%. We're all learning all of the time. There's never a stop to it. So buckle up.
Yeah.